The young woman had recently purchased an old car that had been abandoned for many years. At first glance, the vehicle looked like nothing more than a forgotten piece of scrap metal. Thick layers of mud, dust, and grime covered almost every inch of its body, making it difficult to recognize its original appearance. Rust had already begun to spread across several areas, and it was clear that the car had been left exposed to the weather for a very long time. Even so, she believed that beneath all the dirt was a vehicle that still deserved a second chance. Because the car was no longer capable of moving under its own power, she asked for help transporting it back to her workshop. A tractor was brought in to tow the vehicle, and with the old car securely attached, the slow journey home began. Watching the neglected car being pulled along the road was an interesting sight. Although it looked worn out and lifeless, it also marked the exciting beginning of a brand new restoration project. Every successful restoration starts with bringing the vehicle home, and this project was no exception. Once the car finally arrived at the workshop, she wasted no time getting started. Before inspecting the engine or removing any mechanical parts, she knew the vehicle needed a thorough cleaning. Years of accumulated mud and dirt were hiding the true condition of the body, making it impossible to determine how much damage had actually occurred. Cleaning the exterior would reveal the areas that required repair, while also making the entire restoration process much easier. For this job, she chose to use a high-pressure washer. As soon as the powerful stream of water struck the surface, the results were immediately noticeable. Thick layers of dried mud began breaking apart and washing away within seconds. Dirt that had probably been stuck to the vehicle for years disappeared with each pass of the spray nozzle. The transformation was incredibly satisfying to watch. Wherever the water reached, the original metal panels slowly began to reappear, replacing the dull brown coating with the car's actual surface. The effectiveness of high-pressure washing is truly remarkable. Unlike ordinary hoses, the concentrated stream of water can reach deep into narrow gaps, around wheel arches, underneath body panels, and into other hard-to-clean areas where mud and debris tend to collect. It removes stubborn dirt quickly, without requiring excessive scrubbing, making it one of the most important first steps in any vehicle restoration project. Watching years of dirt disappear almost instantly is one of the most satisfying parts of the entire process. As more and more of the body became visible, the real condition of the vehicle slowly revealed itself. The faded paint, surface rust, dents, and signs of aging could now be seen clearly for the first time. While the car certainly needed plenty of work, it was encouraging to discover that many sections were still in better condition than expected. The cleaning process not only improved the car's appearance, but also provided valuable information about the repairs that would be needed. By the time the washing was complete, the old car already looked dramatically different from when it first arrived. Although this was only the beginning of the restoration journey, it represented an important milestone. With the dirt finally removed and the vehicle properly cleaned, she could now begin the next stage of bringing this forgotten machine back to life. The hardest work was still ahead, but the transformation had officially begun. After giving the car a thorough cleaning, the young woman was finally able to begin inspecting its mechanical condition. The vehicle already looked much better than when it first arrived, and with the heavy layers of mud removed, she could now focus on finding out whether the engine was still capable of running. One of the first things she wanted to know was whether the car could still be started after sitting unused for such a long time. She connected an external power source to the vehicle's electrical system and carefully prepared for the first starting attempt. Moments later, she turned the key and listened closely for any signs of life. As expected, however, the engine refused to start. Um, while this might seem disappointing, it was actually a very common situation with vehicles that have been parked and neglected for years. In many cases, an old engine will not come back to life on the very first attempt, even if its internal components are still in good condition. Instead of assuming the worst, she remained confident that the engine itself was still healthy. Older vehicles were often built with strong, durable mechanical components that could withstand decades of use if properly maintained. Because of that, she believed the problem was likely caused by something much simpler, rather than a serious engine failure. Her attention quickly turned to the spark plugs, one of the most important parts of the ignition system. Over time, spark plugs can become covered with carbon deposits, oil residue, and other contaminants. When this happens, they are no longer able to produce a strong and consistent spark, making it extremely difficult for the engine to ignite the air-fuel mixture. Fortunately, this is usually an easy problem to fix. She carefully removed each spark plug and inspected its condition. As expected, several of them were coated with thick layers of carbon buildup. Using simple cleaning tools, she patiently removed the deposits until the electrodes were clean again. Once the spark plugs were restored, they would be able to generate a much stronger spark, greatly increasing the chances of bringing the engine back to life. Many experienced mechanics know that older engines are often far more durable than they appear. Although the outside of the vehicle may look badly neglected, the internal engine components can remain in surprisingly good condition after years of storage. As long as the engine has not suffered serious internal damage, replacing or cleaning a few basic ignition components is often enough to make it run again. With the spark plugs cleaned and ready to be reinstalled, she felt optimistic about the next starting attempt. If the ignition system was now functioning properly, there was a very good chance that this forgotten old car would soon roar back to life and take its first steps toward a complete restoration. The result exceeded all of her expectations. After cleaning the spark plugs and reinstalling them, she connected everything back together and prepared for another attempt. This time, the engine responded almost immediately. Within moments, the old car roared back to life, filling the workshop with the unmistakable sound of an engine that had been silent for years. It was an exciting moment and a clear reward for her careful diagnosis and experience. It was obvious that she had extensive knowledge of repairing and restoring old vehicles. Rather than replacing parts at random or spending hours searching for complicated problems, she understood where to begin. Her experience allowed her to identify one of the most common causes of a no-start condition on vehicles that have been sitting unused for a long time. That accurate judgment saved both time and effort while avoiding unnecessary repairs. Restoring classic vehicles is not just about having the right tools. It also requires patience, observation, and the ability to recognize small clues that point to the real problem. A less experienced mechanic might have spent an entire day checking the fuel system, wiring, or even disassembling parts of the engine before discovering the actual cause. Fortunately, she trusted her instincts and focused on the ignition system first, a decision that proved to be exactly right. The successful start confirmed that the engine itself was still in remarkably good condition. Like many older vehicles, it had been built with strong, durable mechanical components designed to last for decades when properly maintained. Sometimes all an old engine needs is a little attention to a few basic components before it can return to life. Watching the engine start on the very first repair attempt was both satisfying and encouraging. It showed that the restoration project was heading in the right direction and that the vehicle still had plenty of life left in it. Although there was still a long road ahead before the car would be fully restored, this was an important milestone. The hardest part of any restoration is often bringing the engine back to life, and she had accomplished that much sooner than anyone expected. With the engine finally running again, she could now move on to the next stages of the restoration with confidence. Step by step, this forgotten old car was beginning its journey back to the road, proving once again that with the right skills, patience, and determination, even the most neglected vehicles can be given a second chance. At first, it seemed that getting the engine running again was the biggest challenge of the entire restoration. Hearing the old engine come back to life was certainly an exciting moment, and for a brief time, it felt as though the hardest part of the project was finally over. However, experienced restorers know that bringing an engine back to life is only one step in a much larger process. A vehicle may have a perfectly running engine, but if its safety systems are not functioning correctly, it is still far from being roadworthy. As she continued inspecting the vehicle, she remembered something she had noticed while the car was being towed back to the workshop. The braking system did not seem to respond properly. That immediately became her next priority. No matter how well an engine performs, a car should never be driven if the brakes cannot stop it safely. Performance means very little without control, and control is impossible without reliable brakes. The braking system may appear simple compared to the engine or transmission, but it is one of the most important safety systems on any vehicle. Every time a driver presses the brake pedal, they are trusting dozens of components to work together perfectly. Brake pads, discs, drums, calipers, hydraulic lines, brake fluid, and cylinders must all operate correctly. If even one of these parts fails, the stopping distance can increase dramatically, or in the worst cases, the brakes may fail completely. Vehicles that have been parked for many years often develop brake problems. Moisture can contaminate the brake fluid, rubber seals may crack with age, metal components can rust, and brake pistons may seize after sitting unused for long periods. Even if the engine starts without difficulty, these hidden problems remain and must be repaired before the vehicle can safely return to the road. For that reason, she decided not to ignore the warning signs. Rather than celebrating too early, she carefully began inspecting the entire braking system. She knew that overlooking even a small problem could have serious consequences later. Restoration is not simply about making an old car look beautiful again. More importantly, it is about ensuring that every critical system functions exactly as it should. There have been countless serious traffic accidents around the world caused by brake failure. In many situations, drivers lose control while traveling at high speed or descending a long, steep hill. Without functioning brakes, even an experienced driver has very few options. A heavy vehicle can quickly become impossible to stop, putting not only the driver but also passengers and other road users in great danger. Incidents like these have resulted in tragic losses of life and property that might have been prevented with proper vehicle maintenance. Because brake failure can be so dangerous, highway engineers in many countries have developed special emergency escape ramps on steep mountain roads and long downhill highways. These emergency lanes are designed specifically for vehicles that have lost their braking ability. Instead of continuing downhill uncontrollably, the driver can steer into one of these escape ramps to avoid a potentially catastrophic accident. These emergency lanes are a remarkable piece of engineering. They're usually built with deep beds of loose gravel, sand, or other soft materials that create tremendous rolling resistance. As the runaway vehicle enters the lane, its wheels sink into the loose surface, dramatically reducing its speed. Some escape ramps are built on an uphill incline, allowing gravity to help slow the vehicle even further. Within a relatively short distance, even a large truck traveling at high speed can be brought safely to a stop without colliding with other traffic. Although many drivers hope they will never need to use one of these escape ramps, they have saved countless lives over the years. There are numerous real-life stories of truck drivers who suffered complete brake failure while descending steep mountain passes. Thanks to these specially designed lanes, they were able to stop safely instead of crashing into vehicles ahead of them. It is one of those engineering solutions that most people rarely think about until an emergency occurs, yet it has prevented an enormous number of devastating accidents. Thinking about these situations makes it easy to understand why she refused to take any chances with the old car. Even though the engine was now running smoothly, she knew the restoration could not continue until the braking system had been thoroughly inspected, repaired, and tested. A restored vehicle should not only look impressive or sound powerful, it must also be safe enough to drive with complete confidence. Experienced restorers understand that true craftsmanship is measured not by how quickly a project is completed, but by how carefully every detail is addressed. Spending extra time rebuilding the brakes may not be the most exciting part of the restoration, but it is undoubtedly one of the most important. Once the braking system is working properly, every future test drive becomes much safer, allowing the rest of the restoration to move forward with confidence. Have you ever experienced brake failure or found yourself in a situation where your vehicle's brakes did not respond as expected? If so, what was going through your mind at that moment? How did you manage to stay calm, and what happened afterward? Feel free to share your experience in the comments below. Your story could help other drivers better understand the importance of maintaining their braking systems, and might even provide valuable advice that could one day save someone's life. Now there is only one final task left, the last stage of restoring the braking system. This is the final mechanical repair before the project reaches its most rewarding moment. Once this work is completed and every component has been carefully inspected and adjusted, it will finally be time to see the old car move under its own power once again. After everything the vehicle has been through, that first successful drive will undoubtedly be the most satisfying and unforgettable moment of this entire restoration. Throughout this project, we have watched a neglected and abandoned vehicle slowly transform back into a functional machine. Step by step, every challenge has been overcome, from removing years of dirt and grime, reviving the engine, diagnosing mechanical problems, and repairing critical components. Each stage has brought the car one step closer to returning to the road. Seeing it drive again is not simply the end of a repair project, it is the beginning of a brand new chapter for a vehicle that many people would have considered beyond saving. Restoring abandoned vehicles is far more meaningful than simply repairing old machinery. Every vehicle that is brought back to life is one less vehicle left to rust away in a field or end up in a scrapyard before its time. Extending the life of existing machines helps reduce unnecessary waste, conserves valuable raw materials, and decreases the demand for manufacturing replacement vehicles. In its own way, restoration is a practical contribution to protecting the environment through reuse rather than disposal. There is also something deeply satisfying about giving forgotten machines a second chance. A vehicle that once seemed completely useless can once again become reliable transportation or a valuable working tool. Instead of being discarded, it gains a new purpose, a new owner, and a new story. Every successful restoration proves that, with enough patience, knowledge, and determination, even the most neglected vehicles can have a future again. I sincerely hope you have enjoyed following this restoration journey from beginning to end. Thank you for spending your valuable time watching this video and supporting the channel. Your views, comments, and encouragement mean a great deal and provide the motivation to continue bringing more abandoned vehicles back to life. If you enjoyed this restoration, don't forget to leave a comment and let us know which part of the project impressed you the most. Your feedback helps us create even better content in future videos. Thank you once again for watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next restoration adventure. Goodbye, and thank you for being part of this journey.